Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for an update, so let's get right into it. Alright, as you can see, we are already on GitHub, and I want to quickly go over all the changes that we do have, because we do have a new update, firmware version 2.3.0, and plenty of new features, plenty of awesome features, and I want to cover all of them. And before we dive into that, let me quickly say, if you don't have a Bitaxe already, check out the video description down below. You will find a couple of different links to different sellers, and if you're interested in it, make sure to check them out, and be aware with the code WantClue, you will get a discount. I'll get a little bit of a return on that, but I guess that's fine. Alright, let's see what's going on here. What has been changed? We have plenty of changes. As you see, the list is very long. Let's quickly go over there. So we do have a legacy self-test fix by Scott, which is great because the self-test did have a couple of issues and now they are resolved. Now we also do have a allowance of a password called ... as you see here, which is now also been allowed, which has been fixed by Anderson. Awesome. Now we also do have allowed connection to open Wi-Fi networks, which has not been introduced before that. So previously you were not able to actually connect to any networks that are open, such as your Starbucks or wherever else you go. I mean, I don't know why you would do that, but a couple of people were requesting for that, so we fixed it. Now we also do have a web UI fix for the power and watch circuit visualization by White Cookie. Awesome. So for those of you who don't know, for some of you, especially with gamma versions and a couple other ones, we had the issue that if you do draw more than 20 watts of power, the visualization was a little bit off. It looked like the circuit was going more through than what it would be allowed on the web UI. Now that's fixed. We also now have the version mask is now based on the Stratum message by Adam West. Awesome that you have fixed that. So there was also another thing, maybe you haven't heard about this, but CK Solo Stats is a website where you can actually display your hash rate on the CK pool, solo pool. And previously the web UI was distributed by someone called Vic, and he was, I don't know why, he was going out of his mind and he was charging the people for accessing the web UI. So the CK Solo Pool dev, he quickly got rid of him. And now we do have a new one who designed an web UI for CK Solo Stats, which is obviously open source and free forever. So that's awesome. And this dude who did this is also in this community. I'm just so stoked about it. You see, open source is the way to go and people are joining. So many things are happening. So let's make sure to move over all of them. So as I said, CK Solo Stats was web page, and the quick link to this was no longer working. So if you do have a Stratum connection, for example, to public pool, you could click in the web UI on a link and it will go directly to your specific page on public pool. This has now been fixed by Solo Stats as well, because now it's back up, which is awesome. We also have fixed or changed the default CPU frequency of the ESP32, which is on the Bitaxe board by Anderson. Also now we do have support for the TPS 546D24S, which is a replacement for the TPS 546D24A by Adasource. Amazing, because we obviously have so many different boards, we need support for as many components as possible. There is also a fix for the suggested difficulty after the off to a pool such as CK pool, which has been fixed by Anderson as well. Now the fixed password visibility toggle has been introduced by MRV777. Amazing. So now you can make sure that if you do put in your password, you can click on a visibility toggle. Amazing. We also now have a add overheat alert knob. So you probably know this. I've introduced the overheat mode a couple months ago, I believe. Weeks, I don't know, time is passing by so quickly, and now MRV777 introduced a knob, which is probably a better approach, so thank you for doing that, it's amazing. We also do have a couple of other overheat mode improvements by Scott. Amazing. So now things should be way smoother than before. We now also have a protection against negative frequency and voltage values. Previously you were able to put in negative values, now you are no longer able to do that, which is great. We also do have a Wi-Fi status update or fix for this. Your Wi-Fi status, I will go over the web UI in just a second. I just need to make sure to go through this whole list and give you an overview of what's going on here. So you do have in the logs, or on the logs page, you do have the Wi-Fi status, which was not updating after a disconnect. Now it is, which is amazing. We also do have a memory fix by shifts on the NVS, so the non-volatile storage, which is great. We also now do have the MAC address in the web UI provided by B. Rowan. Amazing, thanks for doing that. As well as we have a couple of minor changes to the quick link detector by Only Black Stars. Great work. I really need to go over all of this. It's just so much here, so bear with me. The next one is add a blur about web-based administration to the README. So this is just cosmetic, great. We also now have a fix on the MAC address that was not displayed properly on the log page, as well as a couple UI tweaks, and now also an update on the CI using now the most frequent or the most recent IDF version updated to the version 5.3.1. And by the way, if you do build your own firmware version, you can totally do that. Just download everything from GitHub and build it from source. This is the proper way to do this. Make sure to use the version 5.3.1 or anything above that if things are moving too quick or you're watching this in 1 year or so, I don't know. Also now we do have a increasement for the maximum numbers of log lines in the browser, which are then being stored there by Anderson, which has been introduced by Anderson. Great thing there. Also, he made the fallback stratum support finally working, which is great. So I was tinkering about this months ago, but I never got it working, and out of a sudden this legend of Anderson was joining into our community and was like, hey, I know some stuff, and he fixed so many things. This dude is amazing. I'm so glad that he is in this community. It's just great. We need more devs. That's the thing. Now we also do have a fix for a couple of compiler warnings by Scott, which is great as well. And we now have also changed BDM1370 defaults in the XOS. So previously the defaults for the frequency and voltage were not the correct ones that you should use for the BDM1370, but now they are. So make sure to update to the version 2.3.0 because it is great. We also do have a couple of fixes on the power section on the mobile version, because mobile and desktop is sometimes different, which has been improved by MRV777. Great, and thanks for doing that. I never use my phone to look at my Bitaxe, but maybe a couple of you guys do. So it's great to improve it on all ends. There's also now a new thing called a new tab, which is called network. So we do have a separation between network and regular settings in the web UI, and we will go over this in just a second. We had a couple other warnings which have been fixed by Scott, as well as a fix on the fallback user, because there was some weird stuff going on there, as well as a fix for the issue 374, which was fallback stratum password thingies. So introducing a new thing here causes sometimes also to publish a couple of fixes. And what all this fallback is, I will quickly go over this in just a second as we go over into the web UI. Next thing was an expose of the fallback state to the YARP, which is great. We need that. Now you can see everything on your API as well as a couple of simplified display changes. And let's see here, simply display just the active pool, which is great. So now you only see the pool that you're actually connected to. And by the way, now your Bitaxe can actually connect to 2 different pools. And if one of them goes down, it automatically connects to the other one, which is great. Just need to say that. We also now have a couple of screen simplifications. I was just messing around with the screen and removed a couple of other lines that were no longer needed, as well as update on the NPM dependencies for building the web UI. Also, Anderson, dude, you are so insane. He was done basically half of all these fixes. Yeah, it's insane. We now also do have other Wi-Fi bands, such as Wi-Fi 802.11k, as well as 802.11v, which are now also be enabled on the Bitaxe device. So now you can connect to way more Wi-Fi networks than before, which is great. Also, the next thing is don't allow flashing in AP mode and fix firmware upload error handling by Anderson as well. So now if you set up your Bitaxe, or if it is in the access point mode, you can no longer upload a firmware, because if you want to connect to Wi-Fi, you don't want to actually update it. You want to make sure it is working and then updating, something like that. That's the reason why we have it in there now. As well as add warnings for consecutive timeout responses, no RX from the chip, by Adam West, which is great. So now if your chip does not respond to you any longer and it create some sort of a timeout, there are some proper warnings about it, which is great. So now you know a little bit more about your chip and what's going on with it. Now we also do have an overheat button and changed loading service. Yeah, as I said, we now have an overheat button, which is great. There are also a couple other fixes on the firmware error handling. So if you do upload a firmware and it causes some weird errors, this is now been fixed, as well as a fixed bad www.bin loads by Scott. Great. So now if you upload your www.bin file and was causing some issues, now it no longer is the case. There's also a self-test fix on all the functions and an updated NVS configuration. So now you do have NVS example configurations for plenty of different devices, 102, 201, 202, 204, 205 and so on, and a couple other ones. As well as there is a self-test fix for the INA260, which is the small component that is actually measuring the voltage and the amperage going over it. So now with older models, there's a better fix on this as well. There's also now the automatic build and release by Anderson, which is so amazing. Now we as the devs no longer need to build on our end, upload it, make a tag, make a release, and then upload all the files. No, now we can actually just push, make a tag, and GitHub recognizes this and builds the stuff for us. Amazing. I'm just mind blown. It's great. Tech is so amazing. And there's some slight display formatting cleanup by Scott as well. So we do have a couple of new contributors, such as White Cookie, Adam West, Ada Source, MRV777, B Rowan, Only Blackstars, P Riz, Jigger. So all of you, thanks for contributing, thanks for being new contributors on this GitHub repository. It's amazing to have you guys here, and you see the list is never ending. We need more people. This is the greatest product in the entire world. I'm just saying that. So anyway, let's move over and let's see what we can see on the new web UI. As you do see, I'm running at 1.2 terahash, which is just been ignored here. This is a gamma, and the gamma is just running fine. So the web UI looks kind of okay. It has been cleaned up a little bit, and this dotted line is in here now, which should represent your expected hash rate. So you will see the dotted line exactly there where your hash rate should be expected. So just for you to have some reference, fluctuation in the hash rate going up and down is totally normal. That is the way how ASICs work. If you go down there, your power side and heat as well as performance is the same. We don't care about this. The pool information down here is way more interesting. So now we do see pool information primary. If I would now close the connection to public pool, or if I would say it is now going down and I no longer have a connection, it would automatically switch over to my secondary pool, my fallback stratum pool, which is great because we do see that other manufacturers that are producing proprietary hardware, of course, they put in that you can connect to multiple pools. Now you can do the same with a Bitaxe as well. So that's everything on the dashboard. Let's now move over. We will ignore Swarm. Let's go into network. So network is the new configuration that you do have. And in here you see you can now set your host name for your device. And for all of you that don't know this, but you can actually put in Bitaxe / and it should come up the Bitaxe device. You don't need to put in your IP address. Be aware, this only works if you do have one Bitaxe. If you do have multiple Bitaxe, you need to change the host name. So that's it. Now we also do have here the option to set the Wi-Fi SSID as well as the password. Over here should somewhere be the option to make it visible, or maybe it's on the Stratum password. We'll see that. So that's great. We now do have network completely separated from the settings. And let's go over to the settings. Here you do see the main address is public pool, obviously. And for the Stratum URL, we decided to go with solo.ckpool.org, as well as Usually the Stratum users that you will find if you flash it from factory are some donation and test addresses from OSMU. So make sure to change them if you don't want to mine to one of our wallet addresses, which is great. Just needed to say that. As well as seeing now here the thing that you can add everything, so you can have a secondary pool, as I said, and everything else should be the same here. We'll go in logs in just a second. Don't be afraid that you don't see my frequency in here. 525 is now the default one, and if I save it, it will automatically adjust to 525. Also, 1150 is the default on the core voltage, but I will keep it at 1.2 volts because I like it at that. That's it. So releases and everything down here is still the same. Let's go over to logs. We do see plenty new information here. We also see obviously our device model, which is in there, as well as the Wi-Fi status, which is connected, because otherwise I couldn't see it. And then we also do see the MAC address of this device, which is great. Not for plenty of you guys, but for a couple of you, this could be interesting. All right, let me quickly show you a couple last pictures here. So the first picture that you will see is the first screen on your Bitaxe device, which shows you the hash rate, the efficiency, as well as your best difficulty that you have reached, and the temperature of your ASIC chip. The secondary screen, you see there is mining URL, which shows public-pool.io in my case, as well as the Bitaxe IP address here. And that's the thing, if your primary pool goes down, the secondary screen will also change to the current version. So that's in there now as well, which is great. So that's everything for the update. Version 2.3.0 is just amazing. Plenty of fixes, plenty of improvements. Thanks everybody who is contributing to our community. I really love seeing this community just growing. It is so amazing. And with that, thanks for watching this and see you on the next one.